Hello and welcome. You're watching Afro News, and this is The Point. And for today's, our guest is, of course, the Executive Director of CAFOR, and Dr. Lawalley Cole. Welcome to The Point.
Thank you.
Nice.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Great, sir. Now we're talking about the African Union, and sometimes people question the African Union's activities. And how fruitful do you think is the African Union, mostly the AU member states, but mostly coming to the supporting related to education?
Yes, you see, the African Union has been doing very well in terms of formulating good policies and programs. And when I came initially here, I was not at CAFOR. You know, I was sent here by ADEA at the African Development Bank to support the department, that time of Human Resources, Science and Technology, in the area of communication, education and development, and which we did very successfully. We came out with a lot of programs. And of course, at the time, we were also working on some of the strategies and policies that the African Union is doing, such as the Continental Education Strategy of Africa, CESA, and then also with the strategy for the continental TVET. TVET is Technical Educational and Vocational Training for Africa. We are working on that. Right. And also we're working on the STISA, S-T-I-S-A, Science, Technology and Innovation Strategy for Africa, as well as that time Agenda 2063 had just been launched. And of course, there's a lot of things to talk about Agenda 2063, which is the blueprint for the African Union to advance the continent in many, many other ways. So Agenda 2060 was a major action project that we are still working on right now. And we are just now, this year, we'll be celebrating 10 years of Agenda 2063, because it started in 2013. And certainly there's a lot more to be done. There have been some achievements. Of course, there have been a lot of successes, but again, there's a lot that is desired again to be done. We need to go further than what we are doing. And we need to get the African people to understand what Agenda 2063 is all about. You know, Agenda 2063 has given birth to skills, to youth development, to so many things, and including even the AfCFTA, the African Free Trade Continental Area, that was established recently in 2017 or 2018. So all these things are coming up. So there's a lot of progress, I would say, with what the African Union is doing. But then we still have a long way to go. Definitely we have a long way to go.
Correct.
And people should not condemn the African Union because they think the African Union is slow. But there are constraints. There are many areas where, you know, there are a lot of challenges. And to overcome these challenges are major issues that we must try to tackle as a group, as a group of African states. Yeah.
So, Dr. Cole, so do you think mostly the AU is doing enough to support, especially the youth in decision making?
Well, the AU is trying. I want to say that they are doing a lot now. I mean, I cannot be so contented. I think the AU needs to do more, much more than it's doing right now. They need to reinforce the youth division of the African Union. Now we have a gender, women and youth division right now. Youth division used to be under HRST, Human Resources, Science and Technology, and it was transferred to gender. Maybe that's a good thing, and we should really help to strengthen it. Also, the African Union needs to strengthen the Education, Science, Technology and Innovation department, which at the moment, you know, has a lot to be desired. We need to go further. And we at CAFOR, we are willing to support the African Union, you know, with all the resources at our disposal to support both the youth as well as the Education, Science, Technology and Innovation department. Right. Because we have a lot of resources out there in the field and people are ready to work to support this department. And that's why we are here. And that's why we are hosted by the African Union. We are part of the African Union, we are part of the department, and we should work hand in hand with them. And definitely, I think that's the way to go. Yes. Okay.
One of the things which goes, of course, over my head is when we think about Africa, Africa used to be one of the first, of course, in creating convenient medium, mostly for communication. But now we can see, mostly when we come to the education level, it's not even in the top 20. What happened?
Yes, Africa is very weak in terms of educational quality, in terms of productivity when it comes to producing, you know, education, well-educated people. We are still behind. We are not even among the top 100 universities in the world, you know, I don't know, I've forgotten the rank where we are, because I recently delivered a paper on that when I was talking to the Erasmus Plus program. There was a seminar. I was a keynote speaker there. And certainly we are not anywhere near the top, even not the top 200 universities in the world. Not anywhere near that.
What have we failed as Africans?
Well, there's a lot to be desired. Africa needs, resources. We need economic resources, economic and financial resources. We need the experts. We don't have to train people and let them go away and work in European universities or American universities. And that's what's happening right now. It's happening. I mean, if you look at the number of people who are trained by Africa, African governments, with African resources, African money, they train them, and the next thing you see, they're going outside of Africa to work. And that's why CAFO is there. CAFO is trying to discourage that. We want people to sit in Africa and work with us. We want our universities to be equipped, to get good materials, to get books, to get equipment, and everything that we are doing, so that we can also, be among the top 10 universities in the world. At least 1 or 2 African universities should be among the top 10 universities in the world. We can compete with MIT, we can compete with Harvard or Oxford. Why not? We can compete with some of these big universities that you hear in the UK or in France, the Sorbonne or wherever. We can compete with them. But why is it that our people are not staying in? Because they are poorly paid. There are no resources, material resources to support education in the universities that we are having. We don't have, the best of the academic African academics manning these universities. So we have a problem there. So people get discouraged, and the next thing they leave, they go away, and when they leave, they never come back, and then we are left with very, very poor quality teaching and learning in these universities, and everything is at helter-skelter. We don't know where we are going. So at least our leaders, in the spirit of Pan-Africanism, they should collaborate with one another and work together to enhance education. Because education is the future for Africa. Education is the future for African youth. They can be employed, they can be self-employed. And that's what we are trying to do now. In fact, in a few days' time, we are going to hold a roundtable conference here, in this very building where I'm sitting right now, where we are going to get all the donors, leadership of the African Union, to sit down and we discuss for 2 days. It will be on the margins of the summit that is coming up. So we want even African presidents, if they are available, to sit down and listen to us. There'll be young people talking, and there'll be experts talking. We're having experts from Africa and experts from Europe and America who are coming, and they'll be sitting with us to discuss all these things.
Dr. Lawalley, mostly when we come to Africa back, Africa is ushering, of course, the era most observers and pundits, of course, are predicting why they determine, of course, in the destiny of the continent itself. So what do you think are the possibilities mostly in creating a very brand new Africa, mostly when we come to the citizens?
Actually, the African Union has got this Agenda 2063, which talks exactly about that. It's a question of us, not being diverted to do other things, our leaders. I think we have a leadership issue here. There's a leadership crisis in Africa. Our leaders should sit down and talk among themselves and not be dictated by what happens in other continents. Let other continents not draw their agenda for them. We already have an agenda. We have had so many agendas in the past, including from 1980s, the Lagos Plan of Action. We have had other continental agendas. We have got even recently, as I just mentioned, the Education Strategy for Africa, TVET, and so on. Let's follow them closely. The Agenda 2063 is very clear. It has 7 pillars. It talks about economic prosperity. It talks about peace. It talks about governance. It talks about the welfare of the youth people. It talks about employment. And all those things are there among the 7 pillars of Agenda 2063. And this is a huge document which describes in detail all these things that we are talking about. Why can't we not follow that? I think what we need to do now in Africa is to get our leaders understand this. So that any leader who comes to power in Africa, in whatever means possible, let them understand what the African Union is talking about, Agenda 2063, and let us try to implement it to the letter. And there'll be a difference. There'll be a difference, and not be diverted. And let us use our own resources in Africa. to support Agenda 2063 and not rely on resources from elsewhere, from neighbors or from other continents to come and help us. We have enough resources in Africa, and we can do as well as they do, even better, if we put our heads down, you know, and sit down and think how we should use our resources. And we should avoid, you know, things like mismanagement, corruption, and all these things. We should definitely, there should be a zero tolerance for that on the continent. You know, just like the Chinese are doing. Zero in their country, they don't tolerate corruption. You can see how they're advancing. Why can't we do that in Africa? You know? And why don't we unite as one bloc and discuss among ourselves and see what we can do and support each other rather than undermining each other and stop all these nonsensical civil wars we have all over the continent. Sometimes these wars don't make sense based on ethnicity, based on sometimes religion. You know, we have the Nigeria, for instance, where there are so many religious issues. You know, you have religious groups attacking others, kidnappings. You have them in Mozambique. You know, you have in Somalia also different factions, groups based on ethnicity, and other places also. We have them. Why can't we just sit down and think for ourselves and become intelligent human beings rather than fighting very, very stupid wars that we are fighting at the moment? We should stop it. Let's focus on that. Let's focus on how we can develop our young people, our youths. Let them go to school. Let the women go to school. Let the young men learn. Let them learn skills. If the era of academics is over now. Okay, we have enough academicians on the continent, and they have not performed, and most of them have actually failed us. Yeah. And what we should do now is let us get people to learn skills. Let us focus on science and technology. Let us focus on innovative issues, and that's what we are doing right now. We at CAFOR, we are trying to make attempts now to do some innovative areas in the area of education, such as we're going to digitalize all of education in Africa. That's what we want to do, and spread it throughout the continent, so that everybody, every town, village, city, or even a small district that you are in, you can have access to education. You can just use your mobile telephone to learn. That's what we want to do, and we are trying it this year. We are trying that now. We are getting support from friends of Africa who are even outside the continent, but we want the African continent to support this initiative more than our friends from Africa. If they are going to put $350 million in it, let Africa put $1 billion in it, because we have the resource. We can do it. We can do it. And let it spread throughout the continent. And I would like to see the African Union be fully involved in this, because that's what we have. The African Union has developed a policy on digitalizing education in Africa. And let's follow it, close it, and to the letter. And we'll see. Within 10 years, there'll be a big difference if we follow that. If we follow that. If we don't follow it, then we are really heading for disaster. Truly, I'm predicting this, you know, and my predictions always come right. We are really heading for disaster. Let us follow this to the letter and make sure that we don't deviate, and let us be united. Let us speak with one language, one voice. Okay, it doesn't matter whether you are Portuguese speaking, whether you are English speaking, whether you are French speaking, or Spanish speaking in Africa, or Arabic speaking. But what you want to do is, let's have one Africa. The African Union is there for that. And let us follow the policies of the African Union. They are great policies we have developed, great policies. But let's follow them. The problem we have in Africa is that we make excellent policies, good policies, but we don't follow them. And we are here, after 10 years we come back, we go back to square one, start thinking about a new one again, a new agenda again. Why? When the agenda was there before, it was not followed, because resources are not coming. Right. African governments have other priorities they are doing. And they are involved in this geopolitical system in the world, which doesn't work for Africa. So let us make sure that we, as Africans, we focus on ourselves and do the best that we can do.
Dr. Cole, as Executive Director of CAFOR, what do you think are the major achievements?
Well, CAFOR has existed for only a very, very short period. You know, we are now only 4 years old, and certainly when COVID came, it really disrupted all our activity and work. But we can see that what we have done so far is that we have got a lot of young people, joining some courses in a European Business University in Luxembourg. We have got a lot of recognition from outside of Africa and within Africa. We have got people coming to work with us. We have developed 11 projects, 4 of them are flagship projects, and that we're going to present in the roundtable. And we are trying to raise money so that we can implement those projects in Africa with the African Union. We are going to collaborate very, very closely with the African Union, our Department of Education, Science and Technology. We are also going to collaborate with the Department of Peace and security, that's political affairs, peace and security, to work on peace education and emergency education. We are doing that right now. In fact, I have met the commissioner of the peace department. We have invited to two of their major activities outside of Ethiopia. In Morocco recently, there was a high-level meeting with the African Development Bank, the World Bank. We were there to discuss with them. We have also had a meeting on how to restructure the curriculum for peace education in Africa, in Abidjan. So so there's work in progress, I would say. I mean, I cannot say that we are there yet, because we are just very new. We're just starting, and there's a lot of work in progress. And certainly, I'm sure that within the next 3 to 4 years, we can register some very, very significant achievements that we are working on right now, because the COVID slowed down everything. Almost for 3 years, we were just working on Zoom meetings. We didn't go out in the field, but right now our people are in the field. They are talking. They are going in the field. We have got consultants coming from Europe and America to work with us. We've got African consultants working with us, from Ghana, from other places. So from Denmark, from Hungary, from Ghana. We have signed MOUs with a lot of organizations around the world. We have MOUs also with youth organizations inside Ethiopia, with 4 of them, and and they are doing very well. We are making sure that we align ourselves with the work of young people in Africa more than any other, because we are here for the young people. We are here for the future. We want to make sure that young people benefit from the work of CAFOR, and that's what we are trying to do right now.
Finally, let's have the message for the Africans, young leaders mostly.
Well, my message is that we still have a long way to go, and I would like African young people to concentrate on Africa. I would like them to stay in Africa, not to think that by getting some education, either becoming engineers or something other, they can go and work in America or Europe. Let them stay here. Let us develop our continent. Let us make our roads, our bridges. We don't have to get other people from outside of the continent to build our roads and bridges for us. We have schools of engineering all over the place. We have schools of medicines all over the place. We don't want our doctors to be flying out of Africa, or our nurses to go to the UK to work there. Why? We have the resources here. And let our governments also think about how they can remunerate people to attract them to stay in the continent, and not give them very, very little amounts of money for their survival only. They should be paid well, because if the governments can pay their heads of state and their ministers so well, or maybe relatively well, I'm not saying they are getting good pay, but sorry, they are not getting good pay at all. But at least let them also consider those people who are in the professions, so that they stay in Africa, so that they work in Africa. And let's get our youth also not to depend on how to work for an institution or a government. There's the private sector. They can also work on their own. They can develop their own skills and be self-employed, and develop their skills and work and do better than something really that can be unbelievable if they work in the way that we want to see them work.
Dr. Lawalley Cole, it's been a pleasure meeting you, and thank you for accepting our call.
Thank you very much.
All right.